Right, let's get started. I was looking at the clock here. It's now 2 p.m. So let's get started, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you joining this webinar. You can literally see my whole screen. So now I can't see if you're typing anything or writing anything to me, but I will look every now and then when I get a chance. So I titled this presentation as such, Don't Be Scared Getting Started with Spooky2 Software, because it is very daunting when you get all the Spooky2 equipment, especially if you did what I did and you ordered the whole lot of it all in one go. You just don't know where to start, and it can be really overwhelming. And so what I'm hoping to achieve with this presentation is some clarity, so you know what to do, where to get started, and how to use the software, which ultimately runs all the Spooky2 equipment that you have. So the software runs the hardware. I've got the entire range of the Spooky2 equipment, and I love it all. And just recently, I got my hands on the AHA Halo as well. And I've got it currently running on the Clarity and Focus program. I don't know if you can see that, just because I want to make sure that I'm not being scatterbrained during this and focused in delivering to you all the information that you need. So that's why I titled it this, just so that, you don't need to be worried. We just need to break it down step by step. I know a lot of you are beginners, so you might not know where to get started and how to get started. Just to make clear, though, that in this presentation, we're going to be talking about the software and not the hardware. So I'm not going to go over how to use a remote or how to use Scalar or like the other 4 devices. We're just going to be talking purely about the software today. But there are lots of webinars and there are lots of videos on YouTube that you can go and access on the YouTube channel, which I will also put in the slide later on. So you can go and you can have a look there for videos, and the Spooky2 team is absolutely incredible. I had the pleasure of meeting them last year at a conference in London, and I was so happy that I was in the right place at the right time with an amazing company that have been giving an incredible service worldwide. And you've all heard about it, and that's why you're all here. I've seen a lot of success myself with using this equipment, and I'm hoping that with this training and with a bit more training, you'll also be able to achieve the kind of success that I've had. So just a bit about my journey, first of all. So this is just kind of a brief overview of who I am and where my life has taken me, how I've ended up here. So I've actually gone through a very traditional academic route. So I did 3 degrees at the University of Manchester between 2007 to 2016. And I didn't learn anything about this. I was in a life sciences background. I was learning about biophysics, chemistry, biochemistry, or you name it. I covered a lot of ground during my 3 degrees, but I never came across anything like this. And there are many things that my eyes were open to later on in my journey, especially during the sort of the COVID pandemic era. And I've been absolutely fascinated and so appreciative and grateful for all the knowledge that's been coming in my direction, because it's truly fascinating how much there is to learn and how much more there is to learn. I know there is so much ground that I've yet got to uncover, which I've not yet learned about. But yeah, energy medicine, energy healing, all of this is truly one of the most fascinating fields that I've come across. And so that's why I'm here today. But so I started back then just doing, my academic, the academic route. And I feel that that underpinned the knowledge that I needed to then know how to, like, what to look for. So when it comes to medical scientific names, for example, when I'm using Spooky2, like I know, and I'll cover this later in the presentation, that, when you're searching for programs, some of the best ways to do that. And it does help to know what the condition is and what you're trying to treat or what you're trying to help to be able to do that. I also studied bioethics. The reason I mentioned bioethics there is because I found that that was very eye-opening, and it made me skeptical for the first time about the pharmaceutical industry. And it made me realize that actually medicines are not always as safe as you think they are. Obviously, if you need to take a medicine, then do so at your GP's, your general practitioner's advice. But for me personally, it was very eye-opening, and I came across some scenarios during the study of this subject, which made me question if the heart of the matter is really as altruistic as I thought it was, which for me, the answer it was not. So that then led me to look for alternative methods to heal not only my own conditions, but also conditions within my own circle. So within my friends and my family, I had really bad atopic eczema. It was super severe, probably the most severe that most doctors had seen. And now you look at me, you wouldn't guess that I ever had such bad eczema. But it was really bad. It was crippling, it was disabling. And I didn't have any other choice but to look into the alternative avenues because the conventional allopathic treatments were just not working for me. And in fact, the allopathic side did offer me things like UV treatment. So they were already considering alternative paths for me too, because medicines were just not able to control it. And then I found a way to heal it. And I did so in what I thought was record time based on all the reading that I was doing around this subject within about 8 months. So it went from super severe to almost completely clear, about 80–90% clear in 8 months. And then another year later, it was 100% clear. And I'm still 100% clear today. I transitioned into industry. So I left academia, went into industry, I worked for biotechnology companies, 2 companies. First, I worked for a company called Genron as an account manager. It's a distributor company. And then I went on to work for a manufacturer of antibodies called Cell Signaling Technology. It's an American-based international company. And I worked there for just over about 6 years. In 2018 to 2023, that was when I had a lot more growth personally, and on a kind of professional level, I kind of became a bit more clear about the direction that I want to go down throughout my life. Like I said, you know, the pandemic era really opened up my eyes to a lot of things. I did a deep dive into the topic of vaccines, and I saw how much damage they could do. And I do believe that they caused damage to some of my loved ones who unfortunately did take them and suffered gravely as a result. So, you know, my dad, for example, passed away, and he actually thought himself that the one COVID vaccine that he took so that he could see his grandson was the reason for his demise. I worked as an account manager until last year. So I left my job last year in summer. And since then, I've been doing other things that I've been a lot more passionate about. So in 2024, I co-hosted the Spooky2 conference in London, which was incredible. And I got to meet a great team of people. I met Penny, Yura, and of course, the CEOs of Spooky2, John White and Echo. And they were amazing, really amazing, down-to-earth, humble people. And it was truly an honor to have met them. I used Spooky2 healing on many people since my dad. So I actually, if you read the biography about me, I actually got the Spooky2 devices at a time when my dad was gravely ill with cancer. He had a brain cancer, and the doctors had basically said that there was nothing that they could do. They could only just, they could offer what was available conventionally, and we took the surgery route. But they said that if you continue to go on to do the radiotherapy and chemotherapy, it's just going to make him ill, and it's not going to manage his symptoms. It can make his symptoms worse, and it definitely won't cure him. So I thought, well, I've got to do something. There has to be a cure out there. I'm not someone who gives up easily. So I thought I have to look and see what I can find. So I remember doing a lot of dietary control, supplements, and all of that stuff. There were a few areas that I wanted to touch upon, but I didn't have the knowledge of it back then. So now I'm an emotion code practitioner, but I didn't know what that was about or how to do it back then. But I knew that the emotional element was a very key part of my dad's healing. And unfortunately, I just didn't have the time to look into it. I was doing a lot of reading. I read a lot of books. I contacted clinics all over the world. I did consultations with people all over the world. I spent thousands of pounds on that. And also, you know, buying all the supplements and all the other things that we were doing. I had a whole regimen written out for my dad. And I think that was the reason that my dad's life was prolonged. And the reason that he was pain-free, which I think is strongly, I feel that is because of Spooky2, because he was lying between the scalar devices constantly. And And then we were running the plasma, and we had remotes running. So there were lots of pain program control things that were running, which I think made the world of a difference. And, that's why I'm not traumatized today, because when he passed, it was a very peaceful passing. But I just wish that I had come across Spooky2 earlier. So maybe, that could have healed my dad completely. Maybe he would have been sitting beside me today to tell the story. So that's what happened in 2023 and 24. After that, I went and I started looking into getting certified in certain things that I felt would have really helped me at the time. So like I said, I became an emotion code practitioner recently this year, but I also wanted to learn how to administer IVs, because I think that's really life-saving. And now, where I live in the UK, if you go into A&D and you're dehydrated, you won't necessarily get an IV straight away anyway in A&D, even if you need it. It's just, policies, practices have changed. And so I think sometimes it's just best to just learn how to do life-saving things yourself. And that's how I ended up doing these things. I also spent a lot of time doing some charity work last year, fundraising for different organizations. And then I'm now an ambassador for Bionics, which is a company that specializes in prosthetic limbs for an affordable cost for people that are suffering. And it's also serving people worldwide. And then they also have a charity arm for which I'm more involved, because they are helping those war-ridden individuals that have lost their limbs by giving them these prosthetics. So this is actually my own rig. This is in one of the rooms in my house, and I've got, I think, how many is it? 13 generators, I think, set up there. And it looks very complicated, but actually you're just connecting. The way you connect the first generator is how you connect all the other generators. So you're just doing the same thing multiplied by the number of generators that you have. It took some time to set this up to make it neat, as neat as it could be, given that there are so many wires. But it's possible to achieve just with a bit of time and effort. And so, yes, what I'm going to talk through today, sorry if this is in the way, I think I should minimize this actually, I've just realized. Okay, so we're going to go through the applications for Spooky2. We're going to talk about the software overview. I'm going to do a walkthrough as well, so that you can see how to use the software. We're going to talk briefly through the history of rifing and the tips that I would give to you to take away, some of the key takeaways as well, just some reminders about the safety and usage guidelines, and then we have a short quiz, and then a Q&A session where you can ask all your questions. I'm just going to have a look to see if there's anything that I need to address. Oh, thank you so much. That's really kind of you all to sympathize with me. Thank you. Okay, now let's go to the next page. Right, so these are some of the applications. I do want to, there is a disclaimer at the bottom, which I don't know if you can see. 1 second. Yeah. I want to make this really clear. So the information that's in this presentation is for educational purposes only. I have a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor. So this is not medical advice. I want to make that really clear. Please consult your healthcare provider before starting any wellness program. And I can't see the rest of what I've written. 1 second. Whoops. Sorry. Or using Spooky2. So here are some of the applications. Now, obviously, bear in mind that there is never a one-size-fits-all approach. And one thing I love about Spooky2 is that it's very personalized. You can make personalized, customized protocols to help you with your specific condition. But do I believe that you should only rely on Spooky2 and not live a healthy lifestyle, not do anything else? No, not at all. This is, for me, it's a holistic avenue. So you need to combine it with exercise, eating well, taking the right supplements, drinking clean, pure water, that's filtered or that's from a source that's trustworthy. And, just all the usual things, keeping calm. I think stress is still a very underrated aggravator of poor health. So it's really important to give yourself some time every day to just center yourself, ground yourself, earthing, all of those things, just to make sure that you are in optimal health. But Spooky2 does have programs that can minimize pain, that can help acute conditions. So if you've hurt yourself and you're feeling pain, or you're getting a swollen limb or something, it can help with that. It can support that. If you have chronic conditions, arthritis, fibromyalgia, asthma, eczema, other chronic conditions like the ones that I'm not listed here, but which chronic conditions are conditions that keep coming back, or that you have on a long-term basis. Acute conditions are those that you will have acutely. So for example, if you've hurt yourself when you've sprained an ankle, that's an acute issue. It's a short-term ailment. So I hope that makes sense. So, there are programs to support these things, and there are different devices that you can use. So, there's a code laser, there's a PMF, we've got scalar, remote, as a PMF. I think I missed one out. But there are so many, there are so many ways that you can help yourself using Spooky2 equipment. And if you know which ones help which conditions best, then you're in control of your health, and you can take ownership of taking care of yourself through devices like Spooky2. The other thing it does, most of you, if not all of you, are aware of the terrain protocol, because it's in the guide as well that your Spooky2 equipment comes with. And it's strongly recommended that you start with that. I also started with that. I start everybody with that. The terrain protocol is an 11-day program to detoxify. And it encourages the natural detox processes in the body, which then primes your body to be able to receive the frequencies for the other programs, the other conditions that you want to focus on. Like I said, mind, body, soul, all of it's important in wellness. So there are programs to support your emotional wellness, your spiritual wellness. There are programs that can balance your chakras, and other things in there is very interesting. And also immune support. You can get immune support in there too. Okay, so this is another setup I did just temporarily, just to treat someone who came over and asked me for a plasma session. So this is, but can you see that I've done something wrong here? I think, yeah, there is something wrong here. I don't know if you can spot it. There's one connection that I've done wrong. Let's see if anyone's got it before I say what it is. No, has anyone got it? What have I done wrong? There's something I've done wrong in this setup. Okay, I'll tell you. Whoops, where's it gone? I'm going to keep doing this. I'm sorry. I'm not very good at operating slides. Where have we gone? We've gone way ahead. How do I go back? Okay. So what I've done wrong is this. This should not be there. So these two coils that come with the USB lead should be at the generator side, should not be there. So yeah, that was a newbie error that I made back then. What else? Yeah, so why is this called Spooky? The reason it's called Spooky, and I wanted to put this in because I know a lot of people ask this question, and I did as well. The reason it's called Spooky is because it's named after Einstein's concept of spooky at a distance. So Einstein understood quantum entanglement at the time, but he almost didn't believe it. So he called it spooky at a distance, kind of mocking it in a way. And we'll go into this in I think it's the next slide. And I'll talk a bit more about that. But that's why it's called spooky. It's based after Einstein's description of how quantum entanglement works and how that links to how the remote works. And then the squared, spooky squared, comes from E equals MC squared. So that's where the name comes from. So the great thing about Spooky2 software is that, the CEOs of this company are very kind-hearted and have allowed everybody access to all of the programs. So whether you have the Spooky2 devices or not, you can still download the software and you can have a look at the programs and have a look at the frequencies. And you have access to that. There are over 60,000 programs and frequencies in this database. It's incredible because other suppliers of Rife equipment charge you for that, but Spooky2 doesn't. It's fully transparent. You can see all the settings for all the programs and all the presets. Everything's on there in that user interface that I know a lot of you feel overwhelmed by that and feel that it's a bit intimidating, but it's also very transparent because you can see it all. And if you were an advanced user and you wanted to make some subtle, kind of touch-ups, then you can do that because you have access to everything. There's no proprietary info here. And yeah, these were all of the devices that the software operates: plasma, cold laser, PMF, scalar, contact, and then yeah, downloads. I'm going to come on to talk about that as well, about downloading the software. Just a quick overview of Rifing. You can even find this on the internet, so there's no need for me to go into a lot of detail about it, and it's not very relevant to the software right now. But just for, just out of interest, for those who want to know a bit more about where this came from. So basically, there were experiments that were done in the 1900s, and especially those that were done in the 1960s, following Dr. Royal Raymond Rife's work. So he was an inventor, he was an engineer, scientist, and he did all the work that underpins Rife technology as we know it today. Sadly, his lab was kind of closed down, his records were burnt down, and he ended up quite depressed towards the end of his life, and he was an alcoholic towards the end, just to try and cope with everything that happened to him. But he was a genius, and he came up with this sort of concept of using frequency to tackle microorganisms that underpin diseases. So he found a way to make a microscope that you could see these microorganisms in real time. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think anyone's been able to replicate it till today, that microscope that he's made. But if I'm wrong about that, please do correct me. And yeah, so he spent a lot of time looking at these under the microscope and firing certain frequencies to see if those microorganisms would be disabled by them. In the 1930s, he ran this very famous trial. There is a book by Barry Lyons, and I think it's called The Cure for Cancer That Worked, something along those lines. You can Google it. It's a great book which sort of tells you a lot of detail about Royal Raymond's life and what happened at that time, what he went through, the politics and everything. He successfully treated many cancer patients, I think around 16. And the 2 that were not treated within a certain time frame were then treated and completely cured, and they were terminally ill cancer patients that he treated with the Rife frequencies. He was able to find the precise frequencies that he needed for those patients on an individual case-by-case basis. So he was able to give just short treatments to those patients once every other day. But because this was a cure, this work faced a lot of opposition by companies that had competing interests and organizations that had competing interests, and that's why they brought him down. And unfortunately, we still have this politics today. And even now, if you find a cure for something, unfortunately, unless it's through the pharmaceutical industry route, you will be taken down, unfortunately. That's just how it is, and that's how business works. So yeah, in the 1940s to 50s, that's when his research was suppressed, but because he had lots of collaborations with other labs, his work could not be completely destroyed. So the history of his work remained with the other labs. Then in the 1960s, Bell, I can't remember his first name, but there was a scientist, an engineer, who designed some experiments in which he looked at how particles behave when particles are entangled behaved once they're separated, and they behave the same way. And they were entangled photons, and that's how this concept of quantum entanglement became more cemented. And then in the 1980s, those experiments were replicated by other scientists, which then in 2022 won the Nobel Prize. So Alan Aspect, John Clauser, Anton Zeilinger, they prove that quantum entanglement is real and it's not just a theoretical concept. And then after that, there were a lot more experiments done to like further clarify and further understand this concept. And so the practical application of this with regards to Spooky2 is the Spooky2 remote. Spooky2 remote uses your DNA to send frequencies directly to you. So it doesn't matter how far you are from the remote. If you send frequencies to that nail, even if you're in Australia, you will get it. Even if you are, the other side of the world, you'll still get the frequencies coming to you. It's really fascinating. Some key quotes on frequency medicine here are by Albert Einstein, who said that the future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. And Nikola Tesla, who's also, I don't know if you know much about him, but Tesla, the car company Tesla is named after this engineer. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So energy medicine is the future. Okay, so now let's get to the software. So first things first, you want to make sure that your Spooky2 software runs without interruptions and without causing you frustration. So I would recommend turning off the Wi-Fi while you're running Spooky2. You could keep it running if you wanted to, but I find that I get less interruptions if I turn it off. You could also use an uninterrupted power supply. I don't use one. I've not needed to, but if you do, some people swear by it, then you could look into that and you can use it, especially if you're going away on holiday and you're worried about any power cuts or anything like that, then you can, just get an uninterrupted power supply. Also on the control panel, you want to change when the computer sleeps, set it to never. So that's this left screen here. Do remember to set this one, put the computer to sleep to never. Doesn't matter too much about the display, but this one does matter. You don't want the program to stop halfway through. So make sure you go into the control panel, go and look at power options, edit plan settings, power options, and then select never. Okay, I hope that's clear. And then also related to that, if you go into the Spooky2 software, you will go to the System tab and select this one here, Prevent Computer Hibernation. So both of these together should pretty much guarantee that your software does not shut down during use. Right, so now how do you install the Spooky2 software? First of all, you need to go to spooky2.com. And once you get there, you'll see a page that looks like this. Then you follow the prompts to install this starter pack. So you click on this under full package. So you go to downloads tab, spooky2.com, then the downloads tab, then Spooky2 starter pack. Click on this, the writing in blue, and then just follow all the prompts. Just click yes to everything and just follow everything, and then it will install everything, the software, the user guide, the quick guide, the resources directory. It will do that, but it won't install the DH experimental frequencies. So to install that, you just have to scroll down a little bit more, further down this page, and you will see DH experimental frequencies, and click download for that too. And then that should also be downloaded and added to your software. I made a mention of user guide because do you remember that the user guide is going to have a lot of the answers to your questions. You will install that when you install the starter pack, but also when you're using the software, in a lot of the windows in there, you will see protocol, and that's basically the guide as well for that particular protocol. So you will find a lot of step-by-step detailed information in those guides as well. Right, so I'm not going to go through this now like this. I'll come back to this later. What we'll do now, hopefully if my computer lets me do it, is we'll go into the software and I'll just talk you through all the tabs. I'll walk you through them. And then we can go back to the slides later just as a sort of summary of what we've already talked through. And then hopefully that will consolidate your learning today. So once you've installed the software, now I've got this in test mode because I don't have anything connected. I don't have any generators connected to this computer. I've got a few computer setups. in the house for the various equipment. And this computer I used to use on it, and now I don't. So I do have the software here. And I think if I went onto utils, then I'll be able to find, actually, let me see if this works. Maybe it's not on that one. I don't know. Sometimes you can see a history of the generators that you've had attached before. Anyway, sorry, I won't confuse you. So this is the window in which you start. So you go to the presets tab. One thing I should say actually is you might want to look in the control tab first to see that you can see your generators there. It shouldn't look like this. This is the test one. When you have connected your generators and you're loading the program, it should say when you're loading it that it's identifying 1 or 2 generators. Like there will be a window that will say loading, and it will say there'll be numbers going up as it's loading, and it will say identifying generators. So you should have, say if you've got 2 generators, you should see just 2 square boxes here if you have 2 generators. If you have 1 generator, you should see only 1 box. If you have 10 generators, you should see 10 generators here only. So you shouldn't see a million like I've got here. You should see just the number that you have. If you don't, or if you notice that, so if you notice that the numbers are not going from 1 to 10 for 10 generators, that's fine. They don't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They can be different numbers. Don't worry about that. If you don't see all of the generators that you have, you see some of them, then you can go here and you can click on rescan devices. So if you click on this, it will then look for more generators. If you're still not finding them, then you can do a few more things. You can either turn off the Spooky2, you can close the Spooky2 software, reopen it. If that doesn't work, you can restart your computer. Also make sure that your generators are all turned on before you open up your software, and also make sure that they're properly connected. So make sure that everything, all the cables are properly connected. Make sure that your boost is properly dialed in onto your generator. Make sure everything's properly connected, and you get a click when you connect the boost. You should be able to click those connectors into place. There should be a click. They should click, they should lock into place. You can actually see the little lock. So you need to make sure everything's properly connected first. When you see your generator is turned on, then after that, go into your Spooky2 software, and then you should see the generators come up. I do sometimes have trouble when I'm changing laptops, which is why I try not to. So I prefer to just keep one laptop dedicated to my Spooky2 equipment, and then I can go and get started whenever I need to without having to restart computer, without having to do other things. Okay, so guys, let's go back to the presets tab now. So here in the home tab, you will find various categories of presets. These are all the factory presets. And then you've got this one, which we'll talk through in a minute. Let's just go through these first. Okay, so biofeedback. Whoops, sorry, I'm not sure why this is happening. Biofeedback. Okay, so here you've got generator X, sample digitizer, scaler digitizer. So for example, I ran this one last night, scaler digitizer on my scaler. And then I actually didn't realize this. So I'm going to point this out to you as well, just in case you don't, but it's actually got a hunt and kill. It's got a hunt and kill preset, which is amazing. It basically runs all night. So it's like the hunt and kill that you could do with tense pads, but it's a lot more comfortable because you're not connected to wires, and it's extremely accurate. I found this to be extremely accurate. I'm getting the same results night after night. It's incredible. I've noticed that if you skip a few days, you might not get exactly the same frequencies showing up, because the frequencies that are loudest coming from your body only picks the top 20. So it's the loudest ones that it's going to pick. That can change after some time. But if you run it every day, like I've been getting the same ones every day, like 19 out of the 20 are the same. And it's amazing. And then sometimes I pick those and I've run them on the plasma, and I'm done with that frequency. I don't need to worry about it anymore. It's amazing. But yeah, you've got also this is a regular scan. So if you're doing just like a one-off scan, then you can use this combination. And if you're doing, like I said, if you want to run it all night, then you can use that one. And then it's the same with the others. So you can do remote, sorry, not remote, scalar digitizer there, and sample digitizer. Sample digitizer, hunt and kill. You've got that. You've got grade scan is great. Grade scan is great if you're running programs that go on for ages. So if you've got programs that are running on for 5-6 hours, say if you've got a certain type of cancer and you find all the programs that come under that type of cancer, it might be 8 or 9 hours long, and it's not very practical to have programs running for 8 or 9 hours unless you're doing it overnight. So then you can do a grade scan. You can select that one, and then you can basically select just the top 10, 20 frequencies, and then just run that, and then it will be a lot shorter run time than it would be otherwise. And then we've got the Spooky Pulse, which I don't use very much, actually, that one, but I heard it's accurate. I use Generator X, it's a lot faster. So this is good for use with the TENS pads. You've got a range of options there. You can do one with the baseline. You can do one without the baseline if you want it to be faster. It will be probably more accurate, though, to do it with the baseline. You can also do high frequency biofeedback scans, refine programs similar to the grade scan. You can do a scan and run, which is similar to the hunt and kill, but it's just that you will target a broader range of pathogens with the scan and run. Whereas with a hunt and kill, you just keep refining the hits on your first scan. So if you're getting 20 hits and they're all related to certain pathogens, then on the next hour, it will then run another scan and it will refine the hits. So any microbes that are sort of mutating in that time or hiding will be picked up by this hunt and kill scan. Okay, don't worry if you're not picking up everything that I'm talking about right now, because it takes time to experiment with these and then to get the hands-on experience. And when you get the hands-on experience, you'll become a lot more confident in using this. It takes time to get there, so you don't have to understand everything that I'm talking about right now. And like I said, you always have access to Spooky2 support and also the YouTube channels, etc. So there's a lot of information out there that you can access easily. Then we've got the COVID programs here. You want to disable if you've had the vaccines and you want it out of your system, recommend running these. There's also another one in DNA here, which you can run on remote as well. So I'm actually running this one on someone at the moment, the DNA one. And then you have cancer. So when I was talking about the user guides, let me see where that one is. I know there is one here somewhere, just can't remember where it is. There it is, okay. So it's on the DB folder. You can actually get guides here. So if I were to click on this, I hope it doesn't crash my computer. It didn't, thankfully. Okay, so this is an example of a guide. And then there's one for Lyme and Magellan's protocol as well. But you can see just how detailed this is. And all the information is broken down step by step, so you know exactly what to do. It's actually very good. I followed this one and I found it really helpful. I followed this guide before. Whoops, how many times did I open it? Okay, now we'll go back up. And then we've got the DH experimental frequencies. Oh, these are so amazing. I find these so fascinating. I mean, just look at them. So what they say, what Spooky2 advises you to do is run 1 to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Run these before you run the other programs the other presets that are in this presets tab. And they say run these 6 programs until you feel no changes physically, energetically, or emotionally. And then once you feel that you're not feeling any changes anymore, then you can go ahead and run the other specific ones. But these ones are super fascinating. I mean, look, you've got something for everything. You have to go through this and also have a look at the stories. Like there's a few people have tried the reverse gray hair program, and there's like a tooth decay program that has had good results in people. So yeah, super fascinating. And then detox is where you find, I'm actually clicking in the right place, but it keeps going in the wrong place. I'm not sure why that's happening. Right, detox, and then you go to remote. No. Okay, so this is a terrain protocol guide. You can also find in that folder. But what I'm trying to get to is this, remote. And then, so I believe that now you can actually get, what they're called, I think they're called BEM or something programs, BEM, for those that are very sensitive to terrain. Some people are very, very sensitive. The first time I ran this on myself, I felt nothing, but I run it on people who have felt something. And I did feel something the third time. I think it was the third time that I ran it. On the liver day, I felt something definitely in my liver. So you can run this one, which is a regular one, the standard one, or you can run it without mercury. If you have amalgam fillings in your mouth, don't run that one. And then you've got, sorry, if you have amalgam fillings, then you run that one. But I have actually run this one on someone with amalgam fillings and they've not had any problems, but it's generally recommended to use this one if you have those metal fillings in your mouth. And then there's detox maintenance. If after a terrain you'd want to just run this, or in combination with other programs, you can run that one. And then there are just various other settings, like a low power one if you're sensitive. And then, like I said, there are some BM ones, which I don't have on here, but maybe you can get them in the latest download. Okay, 1 second. Then we've got environmental, and I've tried this out as well. I've tried it out on insects to get rid of insects, and I think it worked, seemed to work. But you can do it for things like bird mites, dust mites, fleas, mold. And then, so you can do that with remote. Sorry, I can't go into details on how to do that specifically because this program, this course is about software. And then you've got frequency sweeps. I've tried this one on insects as well, this one, spectrum sweep, to get rid of insects. But we've got things like Hulda clocks, and just various programs in here. Then we've got heal, miscellaneous. I'm not going to go through everything because there's so much, but this one I use a lot. This one, the shell empty presets, I use this one a lot for remote treatments because I customize my own programs. So what I do is I go into the shell empty preset remote tab, and then, for example, if I'm doing a healing, if I want some healing for a condition, I'll click this. And then I would go on to, for example, abdominal inflammation, if I need to heal that. And then if I want to add more programs in, I might add more. On remote, they recommend you do it up to 4 hours. So the total time of all the programs added should be 4 hours. Do make sure that you click this, remove duplicate frequencies, click this, just so that you don't end up repeating frequencies. But when you're using the DH programs, then don't collect that because a lot of the frequencies are duplicated. And then you can just click on the save button there. You can make a program. This is how you custom make a program. And then you can change that. I put that there for imprinting, but I'm going to change that back to 180. Click the save button, click yes. And now if I look for my program, custom program, it should come up. It should come up there. It's not coming up right now because there's something wrong with my computer, but it should. If you were to click that, it would come up. Okay, another thing you can do is you can also put the programs here, and then you can save it from here. So if you were to do what I just did and you wanted to save it under a particular preset, so you want the preset and the program saved all together rather than just the program, then you can go back to this tab and you can click save here, and then you can save that there, and you can see where it's saving to as well. It's going into your Spooky2 user folder. Click save, and then it should show up here. There, that's where it is. So now if I want to run this, just double click that. Go to the control tab, overwrite generator, always click that. And then the program should start running. And you should see the frequency list here when it starts to run. The other thing I should mention is, yeah, I do want to mention chain editor. I'm just a bit wary of time as well because there's still so many tabs to get through. So chain editor can be used if you're trying to put a bunch of presets together here and then run them all together, but they're not running. And it might just be that you have to set this repeat chain here need to set that to 1, not to 0. If you select 1 here, then it will go from one preset to the next and to the next. But if this is at 0, then it might not do that. So that's what chain editor can do for you. And the chain editor you can find in your Spooky2 folder. So let me see if I've got that open. Spooky2. Yeah, so it's here somewhere. Just trying to remember how I did it. I think it was this one. Is it that one? Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. There's like some lag or something on my computer, which is not helping right now. No, it's not that one. It should show up here somewhere. It's one of these. And then you click that and it should give you that. It should say app. Yeah, this is it. No, it's not that one. Sorry. Okay, hopefully I'll have it on a slide later. I can show you, but it is here somewhere. Also, if you go to preset collections, and then you go down to user, then you can see the presets that you're making here in this tab there. Chain editor was a bit of a struggle for me, actually. I couldn't get it to work for some time. I've not used it myself for running programs, but I have been able to install it and I can use it if I wanted to, if I needed to. If I were to use the chain editor, then the reason I was struggling first time is because the Windows features, which I think I've opened up here. Yeah, this needs to be selected. So you need to make sure that the .NET framework is selected when you're installing the chain editor. And then it should work after that. And then what you can do is you can set this age factor to something like 3000 just to test if your presets are moving on from 1 to the 2nd to the 3rd. So you put all your presets together in there using the chain editor to make sure that the repeat chain is set to 1. And then you would go to control, click overwrite generator, and then click start. Make sure you bring this back to 1 when you're starting the actual program though, because you don't want the frequencies to run through super fast. Okay, I think that's it for this tab. And then for the programs, we've run through that mostly. I would just leave everything as it is, especially when you're starting out. I rarely change things in the programs and settings. I keep things as they are, keep the presets as they are. Sometimes I know people have to reduce the amplitude because they're a bit sensitive to the frequencies, but I've not needed to do that. I would rather just take a pause from the program. You can change the schedule from here. So if you need to, you can set it to run from a certain time to a certain time. You can also do a harmonic wobble here if you're trying to target a particular pathogen. and you're worried that it will try to escape and hide, then you can, do that there. But a lot of the programs actually have this one already set if needed. So I wouldn't worry about that. Occasionally you need to put a number in here. If you're doing a biofeedback scan, for example, hunt and kill, you will have to put the generator number there, but all that information is in videos dedicated to running biofeedback. And then on the control tab, you should see the generator here, the generator that so if you click overwrite generator and then that, it will show you which generator. So if you have a mix of generators XM, X, for example, you can check which one is running, but you will know which one's running based on what you see here anyway. And then the other thing is that the percentage progress shows a progress. So if your program is, for example, 4 hours long, then if it's 25% of the way through running through the frequencies, then that will show up as 25%. I hope that makes sense. Once it gets to 50%, once it's halfway through, it will show as 50%. If you're running a biofeedback scan, you can click this button, scan here, or you can click start. Sometimes it's better to press scan if you want to start a scan completely from scratch. If you want to continue a scan that you started the night before, for example, with hunt and kill, then you just click start. If you've started a program and you've stopped it and you want to resume, sorry, not restart. If you want to resume from the point at which you left off, you can then click this button here, and that will resume from where you left off. Similarly, if you've done something like a terrain protocol and you've got to preset 7 and then something happened or you accidentally stopped it, then you can just go into this box, and then I can't show you because it's not letting me, but you would click into this and then you would put 7 there, and then you would click start, and then that will skip presets 1 to 6 and go directly to 7. And then what else do you need to know? Yes, if you want to do a reverse lookup, so if you've done a biofeedback scan and you've saved the program, you forgot to do a reverse lookup, and you want to know what comes up in the reverse lookup, then you could just go to programs, find that biofeedback scan, put it onto your list. Then you can go here into the control tab, click the go button here, and it will essentially run your reverse lookup. So if you've not done it first time around, don't worry, you'll find it here. Additionally, let's go into the system tab. There's not a lot I want to show you here, actually. It was just to prevent computer hibernation. I don't really do much in this one. Internet, this one has links to YouTube, Facebook. Obviously, I did recommend not having Wi-Fi while running the Spooky2 software, but if you want to, while you're not running, or if your computer is managing and handling it well, then you can, just get links directly to these things here, including support. Any error messages will show up here. Usually Spooky2 will speak and say, generator error. So if there is a problem, your generator is not working, it's not talking to the software, then that information will come here and it will tell you the precise time that the error occurred, and it will tell you that there's an error. If that happens, then just turn things off and turn them back on again, and hopefully that will resolve it. If not, then you might have a message that tells you to install, to sort of do a reinstall or something. Then you can do that, and you can do that from here. And then I think that's about, yeah, also when you open the program for the first time, you might not have all of these tabs. You might just have the first 4 tabs. So then you'll click on here and go on toggle advanced features. You'll also get a pop-up asking you to do that anyway, so it doesn't matter if you don't remember. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so okay, so we've got a summary here of the presets tab, the factory presets, the shell presets. We went through all of this. You start with the terrain protocol. I talked about this. I talked about chain. Okay, so it's in the C drive, Spooky2 in C drive, install application for the chain editor. And then you can use that to build or customize preset sequences, match preset to mode of use. Yes, that's important. So if you're using remote, make sure you click the corresponding preset in brackets R. Same with tense pads. Click the one that says C in brackets. If it's a coil, if it's PMF coil, select coil. If it's plasma, select plasma. You have to make sure that you're using the right preset from the presets tab. Otherwise, you can damage your equipment. And you've got to match the waveform to the goal. So for example, if you're doing a healing preset, use healing preset. If you're looking for something to emulate a medicine, use a MW emulate preset. So yeah, we talked about the rest. Programs tab. Yeah, we've done all of this. Universal square bomb or kill or heal is if you have programs that correspond to both the healing and the killing functions that you want. So sometimes that can happen. You might make a program for example, fibromyalgia, which support the healing of that and also kill any pathogens associated with that in one program. So then you can use universal square bomb or kill or heal. When I say kill or heal, there's a preset called kill or heal. I hope that's clear. And then in the programs tab, yeah, we've already discussed grade scan as well, control tab. Yeah, we've gone through all of that. Okay, so now tips. Turn on your generator before opening your software. That really helps. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in a loop of having to close your software, reopen your software. Use powered USB hubs for multiple generators. Spooky2 sells these and they're brilliant. They work really well. So if you have a lot of generators, I'd really recommend buying one of those from Spooky2. Save the presets, custom presets, if you intend to use them again and again. It'll just save you a lot of time. Stop the generator, then change settings. If you're running a program and you want to make some changes, then it's best if you just stop the program running first in the control tab. So just click stop and then go back to the other tabs, the programs tab, for example, then put in the changes and then click overwrite generator and then start the program again. Laptop specs, I use myself refurbished laptops. I've actually gone for the lower end of these specs, but I probably should have gone for the higher end, especially on my multiple generator rig. So yeah, I think it's best to get 16 gigabytes RAM, an i7 processor, if you're running it for 10 generators. If you're running it for less, then you can get away with 8 gigabytes. I've actually got 8 gigabytes on all of mine, 8 and i5 for mine, but they do get a bit laggy sometimes. So I think it's better to go for the upper end if you can. But the laptops, the refurbished laptops that I found can be quite inexpensive. I think the cheapest one I got was about just over £150. So they can be really inexpensive. Operating system, you can't use a Mac, you have to use Windows. So you have to, it's best to use Windows 10 or 11, and 64-bit would be better for better performance on the operating system. You can also ask for help from Spooky2, who can give you some recommendations on laptops that you might be considering. And mine is a Dell. I've got Dell laptops and they seem to work fine, especially if I leave them alone. Okay, some safety and usage guidelines. Avoid if pregnant. Avoid if you have a pacemaker or electronic implants, and if you have epilepsy, always seek medical advice if you're unsure. Also, you know, what's quite common is temporary detox symptoms or Herxheimer reactions. So you might have a bit of soreness somewhere, you might feel fatigued all over, you might get a bit lightheaded or fatigue. These things can happen. Usually they're temporary, usually they're a sign that it's working. And if that happens and it's starting to feel a bit too much, then you can just pause the program and restart when you feel better, or you can stop it entirely and just run it on a different day. and then drink lemon water and take binders just to flush those toxins out of your system. And I would say always follow the user manual and start with the lower settings for gradual adaptation. And that's why Spooky2 recommends that you start with the terrain protocol. So the key takeaways are that Spooky2 is a versatile frequency healing tool for both remote and contact treatments. There's a learning curve, take it one step at a time and be patient with yourself. This is not a race. It takes time. It's more like a long marathon. So don't worry about not understanding everything in one go. Just take it step by step, and it will be a lot easier to get acquainted with it that way. Use presets to start, build confidence before moving on to customizing programs. There are lots of amazing presets in there that work really well, and it's definitely worth just starting with those, especially the terrain one. So listen to your body, go slow, go at the pace that you need to go at to be able to handle what's happening and the changes that are occurring. Keep learning, keep on top of your learning process, and make some time to watch the tutorial videos and to learn more about the tools that you have. Join the Spooky2 Facebook groups, group chats and Messenger. Join the Spooky2 forum, where you can ask questions and search topics as well. And I'd really recommend combining Spooky2 with proper nutrition and doing other things to support a holistic wellness. So here are the various pages. So the top left one is, as I said, the user guide in the software. And then you've got the Spooky2 Rife group, which is in the bottom left here. You can find this on Facebook. There are actually a lot of Spooky2 groups there. So if you put Spooky2, you'll find a lot. There's Spooky2 Scalar, there's Rife, there's Radionics, there's just everything. Lots of Spooky2 groups. And this one probably has the most, and I've seen it grow by around 20,000-30,000 people in just over a year, which is incredible. And you can search in there using the search tool to find recommendations on things that people have done. I've shared my own success stories in there as well. And you can find others from other people to find out what works for others on a specific condition. And it's really helpful. I mean, like I said, this is a personalized method, and I definitely recommend using biofeedback because that is the most personalized information that you can be getting from this equipment. But different programs work for different people, and sometimes they run a program and they're running it for a certain condition, but it doesn't help that condition, but it helps something else that they might have. So it's really interesting what can be achieved with this. And then you've got the private groups as well. So you've got when you join these Spooky2 groups, I'm not sure how I got added, I don't remember, but somehow I got added to a general chat group. So on Messenger, you can ask questions in live time there too, and Spooky2 users will answer you. So it's a really nice community, really helpful. Sorry, that bottom left is YouTube. This one is a Facebook group. Sorry about that. This one is a Facebook group here. That one is a YouTube channel. This one on the bottom left, that's a YouTube channel. Spooky2 Rife for YouTube. And then for the Facebook group, Spooky2 Rife for Life, this is the main group on Facebook. Okay, and this here, the bottom right, is a Spooky2 forum. Now we're going to do a really quick quiz. There are only 4 questions here. And I'm sorry if I've made you fall asleep from my long presentation, but now's the time to wake up and let's see how much we've learned. Let's start with the first question, and then you can just put your answers in the chat box. Okay. So first question, where can you download Spooky2 software? Is it A, spookysoftware.com? Is it B, spooky2.com? Is it C, spooky2.org? Or is it 4D? I can't see what's there. So is it spooky2mall.com? Yeah, please let me know which one you think it is. Put it into the chat box, what you think the answer is. I'm seeing that people are putting something in there. Great. Okay. So the answer is, let me see what you've all put in there actually. I'm scared of like touching this because I worry that it's gonna crash my computer. Yeah, well done. Everyone who said B, you're 100% right. That is correct. Okay, question 2. Where is the chain editor found? Is it A, Control tab, B, Programs tab, C, Presets tab, D, Settings tab? I'll give you like 10 seconds to do this. Come on, guys, are you awake? Yes, right. Fantastic. This presentation will end shortly, so wake up now so that you're wide-eyed at the end of the presentation. It's C. So if you've said C, well done. Excellent work. Okay, third one. What should he do first if a generator isn't recognized? Should he panic? Should he rescan devices? Should he C, reinstall drivers? Or D, restart the software? Oh, that's a lot faster. You've gone, wow, the numbers are jumping up. You've gone a lot faster now. Brilliant. Okay, so the answer is rescan devices. Don't panic. There's always an answer. Okay. Question 4. What do you check to make a whole program run 24/7? If you want, I don't know if this makes sense actually. What I'm trying to say is if you want a program to run 24/7, what you're going to look at to make sure that that setting is in place to make sure that it runs 24/7. Would you look at the dwell multiplier in A? Would you look at repeat chain, B? Or would you look at frequency multiplier? Or would you look at frequency wobble? Let's see what you're all saying. Okay, the answer is B. So everyone has said B. Well done. Repeat chain. Make sure that's set to 0. When you set it to 0, it will keep running on a loop. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Sorry I've gone over the time limit. If you have any questions, please contact support@spooky2mall.com. You can also scan the business page that I've set up, which is at the very, very early stages, but you can contact me there if you want to. And that's the QR code for that. And yeah, that's it. Now we can go to questions and answers. Thank you so much for listening. All right, okay, let's have a look here. Yeah, just make sure you put in the questions in the question and answers section. And thank you so much for your attention. Like we've had amazing retention today. We've still got over 200 participants. That's amazing. Okay, so I think a lot of these are answered already. I think these are the open ones. Okay, let's have a look. Oops, that's too big. Okay, by trying to edit with Excel by mistake, now when I run a new biofeedback, the new one doesn't populate in the biofeedback scan data and thus in the programs tab when searching for it. Also, an erroneous item appears in the top row of the search for BFB to load. You don't need to edit. Oh, it was that. So how do you get to Excel through the software? Or am I misunderstanding? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm understanding this question, but if you want to run a new biofeedback, are you talking about the list of frequencies that you get at the end when you do the reverse lookup? Is that what you're referring to here? I need a bit of clarification on this, actually. I'm not sure what the question is. Sorry if I don't understand. But you can run a new biofeedback and you can just wait for the window to pop up and then you can save that and it will save the frequencies that come up through the save button. Okay, is there a software for healing mast cell disorders or histamine disorders? A software, you mean like a program? You can just have a look. You can put that in, mast cell disorder or just mast cell. So here's another thing. When you're looking for a program, if you're putting something like a hyphen, if you're doing hyphens or if you're not spelling correctly, then you won't get the program showing up. It is sensitive to spelling and even to punctuation. So just be careful to put in the right words in there to get the program showing up. And if you're in doubt, then just ask somebody. Ask somebody in the Facebook group or ask Spooky2. Do you leave all the generators on all the time, even if not in use? I actually leave mine running 24/7. So I have remotes running through generators 24/7. So yes, I leave those on. Any that I'm not using, like I have a separate setup for scalar and I have a separate one for plasma. If I'm not using them, then I don't leave it on. I turn it off. I hope that answers the question. I have run many preset and custom programs for autoimmune diseases. Do you have any suggestions? It depends what it is that you're looking for. I would suggest doing a biofeedback. If you're finding that you're running, and I have seen a few people say this, that they just don't seem to see any difference. Sometimes there might be a difference, but it might be subtle, especially if you're tackling a chronic disease that doesn't have any pain or any obvious symptoms. You might be getting some subtle healing and you might not even realize it because you don't have that many symptoms to begin with. But for this one, I'd say try biofeedback if you've not tried it already. Can you say more about the incorrect placement of the leads on the central? Oh, it was just, yeah, the coil that comes with the leads for input and modulation. So the coil part should be on the side of the generator. So it should be connected to the end of the generator and not to the central end. That's it. Hope that clarifies. I think Zora's already done that one. Thank you, Zora. On the computer, when using remote, how to close the video? Which video? Sorry, which video? I'm not sure which video this one is about. If you can clarify that then. Oh, there, sorry, close the video. I'm not sure. You would just close whatever you don't need to be running while the software is running. When you download the DH presets, how do you upload them into your existing software? So you would do that by going to the website, spooky2.com, and then you go to the Downloads tab, and then you click DH presets. You click the download for that, and then it will download onto your computer. So it will go directly, automatically into your Spooky2 folder, and then it will show up on your Spooky2 software. You can even close the software and then reopen it, and then you should see it where I showed you. So you'll see it here. It will show up there. You don't need to do anything except just click the install. You mentioned above it's not like bioresonance, but she's talking about biofeedback because of certain frequencies are not labeled to what wind. Yeah, good point. Why choosing remote and not plasma? Yeah, I just wanted to keep my examples consistent. So I kept talking about remote. And also remote is something that I'm running all the time. Plasma I use, but I'm not using it as often as I run the remote because I don't keep plasma running 24 hours a day. So that's why I was talking about remote. You can definitely use plasma. Plasma is super powerful and super effective, and I've seen that myself. If I run plasma in the same room where I have my generators, and even if those other generators and remotes are set really far apart from my plasma, the generators still stop working. The generators that are connected to my remotes will still stop working. So it's amazing just how strong plasma is. I have to have the plasma in a separate room. But anyway, I'm digressing. Do you need to know the diagnosis before running a program, or if you have symptoms of ankylosing spondylitis? Good question. I would say that it's definitely easier and better if you know what the condition is, because then you can run programs that have already been preloaded into the database for that condition. And hopefully there'll be a frequency in that list of 100 or so that will hit and help you get better. But if not, then you can do a biofeedback scan. You can do a few of those. You can do them quite regularly just to, get better accuracy and get better results. And if you think you have a condition, but you don't have it and you still run the programs for that condition, then theoretically it shouldn't cause you harm because you're only going to resonate with the frequencies that you actually resonate with, and your body should ignore the rest that it doesn't resonate with. But you don't want to be running programs unnecessarily either. So it's up to you how you go about it, but that's how I would look at it. I've heard or read that people run some programs for months. Is that the best way to run programs for healing, or would it be better to run it for a week or two and then stop it and start again? Depends on you. I think that's a great question. It's a question I've thought about myself many times. I think it depends on the person. Some people might get something called like frequency fatigue, where if they're running, especially if it's like one or two frequencies and it's not lots and lots of frequencies chained together, if it's just a single frequency, like in the DH experimental frequencies, a lot of the frequencies are kind of the same frequency that's being repeated on a loop. So if you run that one for a long period of time, you might get frequency fatigue. You might start to feel really exhausted, and stopping the program might help you to start feeling better again. Or you might find the opposite. You might find that actually running it for a long period of time helps you to get the results that you're seeking by running it. So it really depends on the individual. And this is why it's really important to listen to your body and see how well you're reacting to these frequencies. If you need to slow down, then slow down. If you need to add more, then add more, because some people will need more. Some people will need to run the terrain on remote and also have a plasma running with some of the programs from the terrain on the plasma as well as the remote to get the best detox. So it depends on you. And I'd say listen to your intuition. If you know how to do muscle testing, do that too. Use biofeedback. I've had my Spooky2 Generator X Pro for 2 years and have not updated the software. Can you send me a link to see how to do that? You just go to spooky2.com. Go to Spooky2. Do I have it open? Yeah, spooky2.com. Yeah. And then click on downloads. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but there we are. And then you go down. I hope you're following me, Tina. So go to spooky.com, spooky2.com, go to the downloads page, then click this. That's all you do, just click that and then follow the prompts. I hope that helps. Okay. I bought a new laptop to dedicate to Spooky2. I found out the Windows, what do you prefer? I'm not sure what the S safety feature is. Yeah, I'm not sure. Please, can you contact Spooky2 support for this question? Because that doesn't ring a bell to me. Sorry about that. I'm currently running a healing on remote and a biofeedback scan results in a killing shell. I noticed that. What do you mean by a biofeedback scan results in a killing shell? You mean you've got some results from biofeedback scan that you think should be on a killing shell, is that right? All the lights on the 2 remotes all came off. Yeah, the lights are not always going to turn on for some frequencies, especially the high frequencies. They won't be on, or they'll be very dim. So it depends on what the frequencies are. If you're finding that they're running some other time, actually, there's a way to check in Spooky2 software. Don't know if I remember how to do that because I've not had to do it, but there is actually a way to check. It's somewhere here, actually. What was the way to do it? There is something, I think it's in miscellaneous. This one. So if you go to generate a signal test in the miscellaneous folder, then you can find out if your remote is working or not. So you click on that, go to Control tab, click Overwrite Generator, and then if you see your lights blinking, it means that your remote's working as it should be. I hope that helps. I actually have never needed to do that, but I just learned how to do it because I saw this question being asked a lot. So the programs take hours to run. No, with remote, you don't need to have the client in the room. So you would just run the program and then they can go home and get on with their life because it's on their nail, it's on their DNA sample, it'll be on their nail. They have the COVID-19 program, or the all other. Yeah, a good question. I don't think so. I've only seen the COVID-19 one. I've not seen the others. Not sure. Have I? No. No, but I have seen, I mean, my mum had a smallpox vaccine and I've seen smallpox come up in her biofeedback scan, even though she doesn't have smallpox right now. So I wonder if that corresponds to the vaccine. Great question, though. How many minutes does it take to do an internal electrode to treat enlarged prostate? Don't know. You'd have to check in the programs and put that in. Prostate hypertrophy, I would put in and see what comes up. The way to find out with the length of time would be to select the program, go into the control tab, and then you can see after, you might have to overwrite generator first and then see how long is on there. The result that I get from the biofeedback scan, is it the frequencies that say what is wrong in my body or the frequencies that I need to run to fix issues? Isn't that the same? So when you get the frequencies showing up on the biofeedback scan, you can run them through the TENS pads, or you can run it through Scalar or whatever method you're using. If you're using a sample digitizer, then that is, those are two little black plates that you put your sample in between. And because that sample will be something like blood, it'll be some excrement like urine or something. So that's only going to pick up the frequencies of the pathogens that are in there. But the other methods, like the TENS pads, the scalar digitizer, that's going to be running on your whole organism. So it should pick up the problematic frequencies. So it should be picking up what's wrong in your body. And if you're not sure, then just run the biofeedback scan as it is. If you'd rather just pick out frequencies, you can do that too. You can pick out, I've done that, I picked out frequencies before when I felt that there were certain ones that I needed to focus on. So I hope that answers the question, although I'm aware it probably doesn't. Is there a risk of causing burning on the skin with the patches and potentially running too high electrical impulse? I think I might have come across a case where I read about this in only the Facebook group. I think, was it with this or was it with cold laser? I don't know. I think someone did have an issue with that skin irritation or what seemed like skin burning. I've never seen it. I've never seen that happen. I find it really gentle. Sometimes with the TENS pads, you do feel the frequencies and sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, especially if you have it over a bone. So I would never have it over an elbow. Keep it away from the bony areas and then you should be fine. It shouldn't feel too uncomfortable. But some of them do. If you have the TENS pads connected to your plasma, then you might find that they're a lot more comfortable because you don't get any sensations, even at the lower frequencies. So I think with the plasma, you'd feel more comfortable if you're sensitive to those sensations. But yeah, burning of the skin, I don't know. I'm still yet to hear a story firsthand about that because I've never come across it and I've never experienced it. I'm sorry if that happens to you though. I take thyroid tablets for an underactive thyroid. Can I still thyroid programs or do I have to stop taking the tablets? So when you say, so the biofeedback scan is not recognizing your underactive thyroid, not the thyroid tablets, right? Yeah, okay. So if it's not recognizing your underactive thyroid, it could be that there are just some louder frequencies. I've seen this as well. Sometimes you do a scan and what's coming up in the top 20 isn't the condition that's bothering you the most. Could be that there are just other frequencies that are louder in your body and they're showing up in the top 20. If you were able to detect the top 50, through a biofeedback scan, then you might come across the one for the thyroid. So if you still have the symptoms that are related to your underactive thyroid, then I would suggest getting a blood test to check. Get a blood test to double check. Do you still have an underactive thyroid? There is a blood test for this. And then once you get the answer to that, then you can decide what you want to do next. Just off the record, I find iodine really good for an underactive thyroid. Also, seaweed. Not medical advice, though, by the way. I take thyroid tablet. Oh, that's the same one. Thank you oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Does Spooky ship from an EU warehouse in EU, or do you need to pay VAT on top? No, it all comes from China. Everything comes from China. When I've set a chain preset and then want to change the program. Yeah. Why does that happen? Maybe that's happening because you're chaining the presets. Are you perhaps doing that? So you can go back to the presets tab and look here and see what's in this box here on the bottom left. If you're starting a new program with a new preset, then it should show that one. Make sure you double click the preset that you had previously to unclick that if that's still in the list. If you double click it, then it will remove it. Thanks from Carlo, you're welcome. B from Lee. Anna, where can I find information on the waveforms options, like square bomb, and what to use? So if it's a condition that you want to heal from, use healing. Use the healing preset. If it's a pathogen, use killing. So if it's something like a virus or bacteria, use killing. If you're using programs that have a mix of both, you can use universal square bomb, or you can use kill or heal. About the information where to find out more, it should be probably in the user guide. You can find it in the user guide. You can ask Spooky2. If we're using a true Rife machine overnight, can we use the Spooky2 remote at the same time? I don't know. I hear true Rife is good as well, but I've never used it, so I can't answer that question. But I can't see why that would be a problem unless it's just too much frequency for your body at one time. I mean, I've experimented with firing like 1,000,000 frequencies at myself at once, and I've been fine. I don't get the whole frequency fatigue thing myself. But I'm very aware that some people do. Where can I find the binders? You can find them on Whole Foods shops, supplement shops. Do you have something like a Holland & Barrett? Yeah, there are lots of online stores these days where you can find binders if you don't have a physical shop to go to. My son's having a serious skin problem. Oh my gosh, we're like 1.5 hours now into this webinar. Okay, my son is having a serious skin problem. I just got my Spooky2 yesterday after running the terrain protocol, then do biofeedback. Is there anything else you advise to do after this? I can't advise anything for specific health conditions, but if you were to go into programs and look up the condition, then you can add it on to your biofeedback run and get the benefit of both, and you can do it on remote, and that might help you. Where do I adjust settings in software if connecting the generator to scaler on out 1 or out 2, they are not the same? You would put them to out 1. I'm most interested in removing COVID vaccine oxides. If you run terrain, yeah. You can just run remote. I'd say remote for this question. I'm most interested in removing COVID vaccine oxides. What modality is best for this? You can use remote, you can use contact. You can do both. You just can't sit on contact all day long. How will terrain make older people feel, especially if they have medical conditions already? Depends on the person. Some of them will take to it really well, and some of them will feel the Herxheimer symptoms. What's the purpose for connecting all of the generators? I have 3. So the purpose is, the reason I have so many is because I am treating multiple people, and I'm treating for, I can't say treat, that's actually the wrong words I'm using. I'm helping multiple people, and I'm helping with multiple conditions. So that's why I have multiple generators. The results I got from my biofeedback scan are the frequencies that I get. Yeah, I think I already answered this question because someone else asked the same question. How many days will a fingernail be useful in remote? That's a good question. How many days will a fingernail be useful in remote? They're all good questions, by the way. Sorry, I don't want to like make it seem that you're all asking great questions. It's just that some of the questions have been repeated, so I'm not going to answer the same ones again, just for everyone's sake. How many days will a fingernail be useful? I would say I change. Sometimes I've had mine in there for months. And I've not had any issues with that. But some people will swear that they have to change it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis because they think that the benefit starts to level off. And some people say that those that have had COVID jabs will need to have theirs changed even more rapidly because they think that the DNA is changing. So that might be right. I'm not sure. I think it's just better to change it whenever you think you should change it. Listen to your intuition. A lot of these things, you have to remember that this is considered to be experimental device machinery. Like, this is not machinery that's had a lot of clinical trials on to look at everything inside out. And even, to be honest, even the medicines that are out there have not had that level of critique either. So there are lots of medicines out there that we don't know really how they're affecting other systems in your body, but we still take them. So it's kind of the same principle with this. You won't ever find all the answers to everything. You just got to do what you think is best and just trust the process. And if you find anything comes up that's worrying, then just stop doing what you're doing. Do programs labeled with scalar work with remote booster? No, don't do that. Don't mix them. I would I see what you're saying, programs that are labeled with scalar. Oh yeah, programs, not presets. Yeah, if you see scalar, I would still, even if it's a program, I would still use the scalar. I wouldn't use the scalar labeled program on a remote preset. With remote booster, you don't need the booster for scalar. Don't need to do that. No, I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that. About eczema. Okay, it might not be eczema if you think that that's not eczema. I mean, once I went through red skin syndrome, and that was labeled as eczema, but it wasn't. It was a adverse event to withdrawing from topical steroids that looked like, I mean, it didn't even look like eczema. It was red skin. So yeah, sometimes they get it wrong, don't they? What's the most effective way to target glioblastoma? That's a big question. Multiple approaches. I don't give medical advice, so I can't tell you the answer. There is no one answer anyway. Even a clinical oncologist could not give you a most effective way to target glioblastoma. I would say keep doing research. There is a lot of information out there. Join the glioblastoma groups on Facebook. Tons of info. What if one is ill with filaria that bends light or waves? I don't know what to tell you. That sounds interesting. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'd say just research it, see what you find on the internet, and ask your doctor. If the remote is running for days, should the lights come on at some time when the frequencies change? How would you know if the remote isn't working? If the remote's not working, okay, so I told you the general, maybe you asked this question before you heard me talk about how to test if your remote is working. You can use the generator signal test. If it's not working, then it will never, ever light up. So do you have to put frequencies in a killing or healing shell? Depends. If you're killing, then use a killing shell. If you're healing, use a healing shell. Okay, the biofeedback, I would put them, so I normally do a reverse lookup just to see what's coming up. And then normally I would put it into a healing or a universal square bomb shell. But if I'm picking frequencies for killing, then I would use killing. Like if I'm not running all of them and just a few, then I would use killing if I'm trying to kill. I ran the sample digitizer in one generation X and the foot bath in another generation X at the same time, but the foot bath paused. I don't know. I mean, they shouldn't really be interacting if that's what you think is happening. Yeah, I mean, it's not that. Oh, I see. So when you say one generator X, are you talking about the two generators within that one generator X, or are you talking about two separate boxes of generator X? Because if you're using one and you're using both of the generators on that same thing, that same generator, then if you're doing any biofeedback scan, it will stop the other generator. And this will happen even if you have multiple generators connected on different devices on the same laptop. It will stop everything else to run the biofeedback scan. So it's better to use a different setup to do the biofeedback scan, or just to stop the foot bath and do the biofeedback scan and then start the foot bath after. How have you found the foot bath, by the way? I haven't tried that one yet, actually. If I have cervical cancer with recurrence in the pancreas and liver, which program should I use from Spooky2? Use biofeedback and then find the programs that come up for these conditions, and then you can do a grade scan as well. How do I set up remote to run programs for 4 hours, then off for the other? So yeah, you can do here, run from 2. You can schedule the generator. I hope that answers all the questions. I think I've answered them all now. And Zara, thank you so much for supporting. I think another one's just come in. Which modality of Spooky2 is necessary in order to do biofeedback scans? Which modality? You can use, by modality, do you mean like the plasma, etc.? Yeah, so you can't do biofeedback scan on plasma anyway. You can, it depends. I would really recommend, I like scalar scans. I do like TENS pad scans as well, especially if you're, like, say if you've got an issue on your arm, and then you can just put the pads on either side of that issue. But scalar is good in the sense that it will scan like the entire body. So I do like scalar, but it depends on what the issue is. If it's a problem, say if I had a urine infection, a UTI, then I'd probably use a sample digitizer, because I can put a urine sample in the sample digitizer place and sample that and see what comes up. So it depends. You have to know what it is you're dealing with to be able to understand what is best. Oh, there's more. Did all these just come in now? Oh my gosh. Okay, is hunt and kill the same as a biofeedback, except just the top 20 frequencies? Yeah, it is a form of biofeedback. Sub up to. Are you talking about the reverse? In this question, are you talking about the reverse lookup tool? You don't have to select those. And the other thing is that they're not, so anything that comes up on reverse lookup it should not be used for diagnostic purposes. And often it can't be anyway, because there are so many conditions which have that frequency in the database. So you might find that 2, 3, 10, or maybe like 50 unrelated conditions come up. And it's just because that each condition has a list of frequencies that resonate with that condition. And some of those frequencies overlap with other conditions. So how do you know which condition you have? By just looking at that. You can't use it as a diagnostic tool. Thank you, Isabel. Having an AI assistant. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, I think I've already answered this one. Great. So I've answered them all now. Thank you so much. And Zara's answered loads as well. Thank you so much for attending. There are more questions coming in. Should we go through these quickly? Results from biofeedback with harmonics included are very traumatic. Makes panic for some patients seeing tumors. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like sometimes, I mean, often you come up with cancer. There's always like something with cancer, but it doesn't mean you have cancer. Yeah, don't panic based on what you see on that list. It doesn't mean you have it. Forget it, not shut off the remote manually 4 hours. Set it and forget it. And have to know to turn off and turn back. Ultimate forces either 4 hours on. Oh, okay. Yeah, but so I don't know if I answered your question before, Stacia. You can schedule it from here. Is that what you're asking me? You can schedule the remote here if you want to. I've never done that. I've never needed to do that. I just run things 24/7 for as long as needed. But yeah, you can do it from here. You can schedule it from here. I hope that answers the question. Is it okay to change the waves? Well, if you change the waves, you're going to change the effect of the frequency output. So this is why I prefer to just stick with the presets and just go with what I believe the experts have come up with. But if you're also an expert, then go ahead and change it. Okay, guys, are we ready to end this? Can the waves be changed? You can't change them, but you can change the setting. But you can change here, you can see in the settings, you can see the waveform. And then you can see other settings related to the waves, like the amplitude can be reduced. You can change the frequency limits. You can add wobbles. You can add feathering. So there's plenty of things you can do to modify. You can also change the duty cycle, offset, etc. But should you be doing those things? Depends on what you're running. Just whatever changes you make, just keep them safe. And yeah, do them when you know what you're doing, is my advice. Right, I hope this has helped everyone. And I think it's time to call it a day. Thank you so much for the interaction, for asking all these questions, for hearing me give this presentation. I really appreciated this opportunity. Thank you very much. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. See you soon. I think see you next month. I think I'll be doing another one next month. So I'll see you then.